Hello everyone, this is Betsy from Ideas Times 2, and I am making tags today. So I thought I'd turn on the camera, and I've got one more tag to make, so I'm going to turn on the camera and show you how I go about making a tag like this. Today I'm using fairy images. This is going to be a set in our Etsy shop, so they will be for sale. So what do we need to make these tags? We need... I used, for my mixed media background, I used napkins, I used some collage, let's see, what does Tim Holtz call this? Collage paper from Tim Holtz. I used that on a couple of them. Used a napkin on one. Also, like sprays, ink sprays. I have ink pad refills, just all kinds of little sprays, and I even have a bottle of water in case we need to water something down. On one of the tags, the blue one, I used paint and some crackle medium. So we'll see what happens with this one. I'm not sure. So I have those things handy. A napkin, the one I used was this one. So, and that one looks pretty good for the colors I need, so I kept that one out. So, also just some fibers for the ties, the images, kind of a focal point image, and, oh yeah, background stamps. So I have some really old stamps, as you can see, and I just use those. I have several that are my favorites, and I just use those. So, and also archival ink or something that can get wet. Okay, I think that's it, I think. So we will see. You'll need a tag, of course, and some gesso. Gesso, I've got this really ancient bottle of gesso, which I have to keep stored upside down, otherwise it'll never come out. I gotta run to the store. I don't know where I got it. It's been around for a long time. So let's learn how to make this tag. I start out with cardstock. Usually 110-pound cardstock or file folder, something like that. And I have a template from scrap paper that I've been using for a while, and I just trace around my template. It was just a tag that I made, and I liked the size, and so I just kind of kept it to use for tracing. So I trace around that and cut out a tag. Alright, and then we're going to be using some wet stuff on top of here, so it has to be prepared. So we prepare it with the gesso that I mentioned. So I had the gesso, I've already put it on here. All I did was I poured some out of the bottle, I took a little sponge brush and I just brushed it all on here and then let it dry. And if you're making a tag and you want to get going on it, just use a heat tool to dry it and you're good to go. It only takes, whoops, sorry. It only takes a few minutes. It's already messy in here. It only takes a few minutes to dry with a heat gun, or you can set it aside and work on something else and let it dry. So this is cardstock covered with gesso. Alright, so now how do I decide? Well, I need my image. Where did it go? Alright, so my little image. So what I do when I have a focal point image like this, I'll just look at the image and I'll just pick out some colors out of there so that it all ties together. So this one I've got browns and oranges, and there's some gold, and there's also some like mossy green. So I can pick any of those colors, and I think it'll look really nice with this image. So I'm just looking around here. You can't see all of my bottles, but I've got a bunch of things here, and I'm looking to see what I'm going to use. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I have this ink pad refill. It looks like green, but it's supposed to be brown. So this is a glass surface here. If you have some sort of Teflon mat or something like that, and this is a little messy, but I'm not too worried about it right now. So I'm going to drop a few drops of this. This is a beautiful chocolate brown, and it looks like it's very concentrated. So I'm going to just give that a spray of water. All right. What else here? I think I might, well, I think I might do a little, this is kind of a little cheat sheet that I have. I have these sprays, and I've labeled them what they are. And so I'm going to sort of go by that and pick out a color of this. And I really like this, Canyon. So I might bring, actually I might use this one. So this is more of a orangey color. Okay. And it's really, that ink pad ink was really concentrated. I didn't realize how concentrated that was. So I have this spray, which is like an off-white. It's called Shell. So I'm going to add that to maybe lighten up that brown. All right. This will be interesting, right? So this I think what we'll do, instead of spraying that, I might wind up spraying it, I don't know. But, so I'm using my sprays this way by just sort of blending them here on my glass mat. And then what I'm going to do is sort of smoosh my tag in there. So these colors might be intense, but my plan is to cover them up with something sheer. And so let's find out. So I'm just going to tap a few spots and see what we got. Yep, that's pretty intense. And since it's so intense, I think I'm just going to blot some of that color off of there. It's not bad though. I like it. Yep, I like that. That's really pretty. So, and I don't have to get you don't have to cover the whole thing. I do sort of like to get the edges a little darker if possible. And just tap. I mean, you could go for it and just smoosh the whole thing. I'm just tapping to leave some kind of cream colored spots there. And I like that. I like that. I think that looks good. If you have some super dark spots, you can, you know, blot them up a little bit with your towel, paper towel. I should have said that at the beginning. It's handy to have a paper towel. All right. Okay, that's perfect. Now I am going to heat dry that again. So let me set this aside. But before we do anything, I'm going to clean this up. And the way I'm going to do it is, hang on just a second here. I am going to get an envelope that I've already tea stained. And so not to waste this color, I'm just going to sort of get ready for another project by blotting this with color. And it'll absorb my color. Actually, while all this is out, I'm going to spray that with some more color. And there we have the start of a nice fall envelope. Try to clear out my window here. Okay, so that's how I usually do the initial cleanup of that ink. I'm going to set that aside so that dries. That one has a lot of brown on it, so I might wind up. Okay, and then I'm going to, I always have a spray bottle of water handy. It's just, otherwise you're running to the sink, or you've got wet rags that can sometimes ruin paper if you're not careful, and all that stuff. So I usually keep a spray bottle of water. All right. My number one tip, right, is paper towels. Paper towels, which I always keep a roll handy, so. One more cleanup. One more cleanup. Okay, perfect. Alright, so now let's take a look at our tag and see how... Alright, it's still not dry, so I am going to heat gun that, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, I'm back. It is dry, and I love the way this turned out. I love it. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, what I usually do too is I just keep checking my image, making sure all the colors are going okay. So this is pretty much a lot of browns, but I'm going to leave that for now. And it is very dark. So I think what I'm going to do, I use these on a couple already, but this is very neutral sort of tissue paper background. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use this again. I'm going to put that on there, I think. To tone down the dark brown and just to give it more interesting background. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So all I'm going to do, I'm just sort of eyeballing it here. And I'm going to tear it. I also have like a scrap here in case I need to fill in a little bit. So I'm going to have it kind of coming down this way and concentrate the color on the outer edge. So the way to do this, okay, so if you're going to apply a napkin or tissue paper, a great idea is to apply it with, and I've seen people apply it with glue sticks too, and I think that is a great idea. Today we're going to use matte gel. So this is an acrylic medium. It dries clear, and it's really gentle on thin materials. And so we're going to use this to apply our tissue paper or collage paper. So I'm just going to use this little spongy thing again. I'm going to dip it in here. And I'm going to spread it on here. It's not going to hurt it if you get it past the area where the tissue paper is going to be. I've noticed this before too, how it does spread the color a little bit. So, but it's no problem, no problem. Okay. It kind of looks good to have the color spread a little bit more. Alright, so just kind of line it up and adhere it down. Another thing I like to do as well is make sure that the edges are not quite. And since this did get brown on it, instead of dipping that back into my jar, I'm going to get a clean brush here. So yeah, some of the spots were dry before I applied that, so let's just make sure that's down. Okay, now it's all stuck down. Alright, and so then what I usually do is I just run another layer of matte medium all over the tissue paper or napkin or whatever it was that I just applied. Okay, so I'm doing that. Alright, and then you may have guessed it already, but now this needs to dry. Alright, I'm going to close this jar up. And since this is damp, it's going to just tear away, so I'm just going to tear that away so it's not awkwardly flapping around. And this can be trimmed more evenly after it's all dry. But save this. This is a good little piece in case we need that for this one or a different project. But can you see how that's sort of it's melding together a little bit? All right, I am going to dry this. I'll be back in a minute. All right, all dry. So now I'm thinking I want to draw in a little more color, maybe a gold and green. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this Ziploc bag instead of making you guys watch me do that glass again. So I'm going to spray a little green on here and just sort of dip a few spots on my tag to bring in a little green. Otherwise we're very monotone and not quite as interesting. So that's a nice color. I'm going to use that color, I think. Let's see, what is this one? This is Shell. I'm not sure if that's too good. Let me look at my sheet again here. Okay, I don't have any that are gold colored. I don't think. I'm looking to see what I've got. Yeah, I don't have too much gold. So I do have this gold ink. Oh, here we go. Here's a butterscotch color. This is Tim Holtz alcohol ink. So I am also going to just spritz a little bit of that on there. Spritz. It doesn't sprit. It's dripping. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I think, is just to bring a little green maybe down here and up here. We'll see here. So I'm just going to another thing, this is maybe what I'll do. Maybe I'll do a little splatter. So let me move this a little bit. And I think you can still see me. So I'm just going to grab some of that and I'm just going to splatter a little bit. So now we've got green splatters. Dip a little, dip a little, and then we're going to do some green splatters here too, particularly where that cream color is right there. That'll give us just a little bit more interest. So we pulled in a little green here, a little green here. I might go for some of that gold too. I'm going to try it. Let's see. I might try to use the same brush. We'll see what happens. And since it's alcohol ink, it's pretty much dry already. All right, get the lid back on. I'm going to try some of this gold and see how well it shows up. I'm not sure how well it'll show up. Just pull a little bit of gold up there. Yeah, it's not doing anything from my brush, so I think I'm gonna dip it. You know, it pulled a little bit. It did. I've got a little bit. Let me try. It does dry quickly, so that's why I'm having a hard time here, but we'll do one more drop and we'll see what we can get. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So I've got some bigger splotches of gold color, a few splotches here, and a few splotches right down there of the gold, and I really, really like that. I really like the way that turned out. Okay, perfect. So now I can just move this bag off to the side. We don't have to clean so much. Brush over here. Good. It's looking good. I am really liking that. Whenever you do something like this and you're like, well, that's pretty dark, I don't know if I like it that dark, you can just run just a very thin layer of gesso over the whole thing, and that'll help tone it all down, and it's a really nice effect. I'm really liking this though, so I think we're doing well. So now what I think I'm going to do, I'm happy with the color, so the next thing we're going to add a little more texture to the tag. I'm taking out my archival ink. I'm going to use black. I think a dark brown would be pretty too, but I only have one kind and it's black. And I'm going to take one of my background stamps, and we don't need so many of the background stamps, so much of it over here, but I think we're going to need just a little something over here. So I have got, oh, I know, I think this will be good. I've got a sort of like a crackle finish rubber stamp, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, what I like to do, instead of making it like stark black, I like to stamp off on a piece of paper before I come over to my project. So you can see I've done that on this scrap paper before. So I'm just going to take my crackle stamp off, and that way too you can kind of see if you've inked it up well, and then bring it over to my project. Yeah, I like that. We don't want it to be too dark because then that's going to be distracting. We just want it to there, I didn't stamp it off, and now I think that's a little dark, but that's okay. It's gonna just have to stay that way. It's gonna have to stay that way. Yeah, I like that. So try to get this so it's not glare. See the crackle effect on there. Additionally, you could do some script or something like that. We might do a little script, not too much. Stamp off. Yeah, we don't need much. Okay, perfect. I am super happy with this. This is good. All right, so let's get back to, we're almost done, our photo image. Okay, so this background is very busy for this image, so we are going to put something behind it. See what difference that makes? We're going to put something behind it, and then what I like to do is something highly contrasting with this image, and so that's what this brown is. And then I think it would be nice to actually put something else behind the brown to make it stand out from the background. So we're just going to go ahead and do it that way. I'm looking for sort of a, you know, more grungy look, so we're going to go ahead and rip the edges. I want to keep as much of this image as possible. It's not very big, so I'm just very, very slightly ripping these edges. Keep as many of those little acorns and leaves as possible. This is such a cute image. All right. See, we didn't pull off a whole lot. All right, and then as usual, I'm going to ink these edges. So we're going to give that a little ink, sort of rubbing it on. And then I'm also going to rip around the image, so just go ahead. This brown paper I have, I don't know where I got it, but it's very thick and it's very good quality. I almost wish I knew where I got it, well, where it came from, I should say, because I would like to order more. I've got some projects I need to finish, and it calls for very sturdy cardstock, so this would be perfect if I could find more of it. I don't think it was locally. I think somebody gave it to me, so I'm not real sure where it came from. All right, that's about the amount of brown, except this is really uneven and it is still just a tiny bit too big, so we'll go ahead and just shave a slight bit off this side and then hold it up again. Yep, that's good. That is good. I don't like the way that corner looks. And you may be wondering, but I am going to, this gives it sort of a two-tone brown effect, and I really like that because this ink is a lot different color. So I don't know if you can see that, but it actually makes a difference, so I like that. Okay, so now we're headed that way. We're headed that way. I think I'm going to put some muslin behind there. That'll be a nice, you could put paper, you could put tea stain paper or script. Ooh, let's maybe, find some text that we can use. That would be awesome. Okay, I think I have a book here. From the 1930s. Was a book cover I just used for a project, which you all will be finding out about soon. Okay, so maybe we'll just use this. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. I was going to use muslin, but I try not to do too three-dimensional on tags, because if they're going in a journal, you don't want them to be like so big that they, you know, cause trouble closing a book or something. So it doesn't need to be a lot. I'm just make it so that it is contrasting. There, I like that a lot. I think that looks good. Good. I think I like this side better. Yeah. So I am going to, this paper has a really nice patina already, but I am going to just lightly hit the edges with ink here. Excited. I love that. Okay, so the next thing, I love to have sewing on my projects, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and kind of wonky sew around the image, sort of catching the brown and the image. I'm just going to do a little wonky sewing. I'm also going to stitch around the outside edge of this tag, and then we'll come back and we'll glue this here and we'll figure out something for a tie. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so we are back. I stitched around the image, a couple of rows of stitching, and get that clipped, and then I stitched around the edge of this tag as well. Alright, and so I'm super excited. We're going to attach this here. I'm going to glue it with Fabrifix. I know a lot of people have started to use art glitter glue, but I'm kind of sticking with one of my faves, and that is Fabri-Tac, Fabrifix, or 3-in-1. They're all pretty similar. Alright, so I could put this in the center bottom, but since my other ones, it's going to be a set, and since my other ones are over here, sort of off to the left, I'm going to go ahead and do it right there. I like that, and that's sort of the way I planned it anyway, with the tissue paper coming down like that. So, alright, looks good. So we're going to need something at the top. I'm going to eyeball this and punch a hole just with my regular, make sure somewhat in the center here. There, punch a hole. Alright, and then I'm going to put a hole, what are they called? Hole reinforcement. Alright, and I'm just going to go ahead and ink up some of these other ones that I have, the white ones I mean, and in a brown, and I almost always put one on the back too. I just think it looks more finished. So we'll do that. I'm going to hold off though, because look, this is what I always do. When I do these mixed media backgrounds, I always get lots of little paint and stuff on the back. So I'll go ahead and glue a tea-stained sheet on the back of there. That wouldn't bother me in my journal, but it might bother someone, and I will be selling this, so I will put some tea-stained paper in the back later off camera. So I'm going to hold off putting my whole reinforcement there. But I put one here, and what I decided to do is just put muslin. I think that'll be good, because this is pretty busy. So, and it'll give the eye a resting place on here, and sort of, I think it'll make the image pop more too. So I'm just going to go ahead and put muslin, and I ripped it while I was off camera there. So I'm just trying to get all the strings off, and I think I'm just going to double it up. I think that'll look cute. So the way I prefer to do it is to stick it in through the front, pull it out through the back. This is a little bit of a tight squeeze, but, and then my loop, I'm gonna even these out a little bit maybe. Alright, and then my loop comes down over into the front. So it's kind of tricky. I don't want to rip my paper, so I'm just trying to be careful here. Okay, like that. This one needs a little trim. Alright, there we go. There's our tag. Okay, so that will go with my other tags. And these will be for sale. I'm going to try to get them in there tonight. And they'll be for sale in our Etsy shop. And we are having Etsy shop restock. Our Etsy shop is a little low right now, but anyway, we'll get that done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial craft with me, and we'll put our information down below where you can find us. We're on Instagram, Facebook, we have a blog, and Etsy shop, and this YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't, and give this video a thumbs up. That would be so wonderful. We appreciate you so much, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.